My MIL called CPS on me for going back to work. What I found on our baby monitor after? Yeah, I wish I didn't look. I swear to God, if one more person tells me it takes a village, I'm going to start setting controlled fires in that village. Not arson, just emotional arson, vibes-based destruction. Because apparently my village includes a woman who looked at my postpartum, sleep-deprived, barely functioning self and thought. You know what would spice this up? Federal investigation. Yeah, cute. Let me rewind before I start foaming at the mouth again. So picture me. 4 months postpartum, running on caffeine, spite, and whatever crumbs of sanity I can scrape together between pumping schedules and emails marked urgent that absolutely are not urgent, but somehow still ruin my day. I had exactly 8 weeks of maternity leave. 8 weeks. Which sounds like a lot until you realize your body is still actively confused about what just happened to it. Your hormones are playing roulette. And your baby, your beautiful, perfect, tiny dictator, doesn't believe in sleep as a concept. And then it's like, okay, back to work, girl boss. Yeah, girl boss my ass. I went back because I had to. Because bills don't care that I just pushed a human out of my body. Because independence matters to me. Because I actually like my job, which feels illegal to admit as a mother. Like I'm confessing to a crime. God forbid I enjoy something that isn't my child, right? Call the authorities. Oh wait, someone already did. We needed childcare, obviously. My parents? Out of state. Love them, would literally die for them. But they are not teleporting daily. Babysitters? Expensive enough to make me briefly consider selling organs. Non-essential ones, obviously, probably. So that left her, Eliza, my MIL, and let me just say this up front. She's not one of those cartoonishly evil, mustache-twirling types. No, that would have been easier. At least then I'd have a clear villain arc. No, she's worse. She's subtle. She's the kind of person who smiles like she's being polite, while silently filing away reasons to hate you. You ever meet someone and just know they don't like you, but you can't prove it without sounding insane? Yeah, that. 6 years. I've known this woman for 6 years, and not once have I felt like she actually saw me as family or even a person she respects. More like a placeholder. A mildly disappointing choice her son made, that she's too polite to openly criticize. Except plot twist, turns out she was not that polite after all. Anyway, we ask her for help, and she's like, oh, of course, I'd love to help. But there's always a but. Always. She doesn't want to commute. Arthritis. Doesn't like driving. Bus is inconvenient. Life is hard. The stars are misaligned. Mercury is in retrograde. Whatever. So she'll move in, temporarily, to help, which already felt like inviting a raccoon into your house because it looked cold outside. Like, yes, you're helping, but also, this might end with you standing in your kitchen at 3 a.m. wondering where it all went wrong, but we didn't have options. So we said yes, and that's where I probably should have paused, zoomed out, and gone, hey, maybe don't invite a person who low-key resents you into your living space during your most vulnerable life phase. But no, I was tired. Desperate, optimistic in that dumb, hopeful way people get when they haven't been burned recently enough. So she moves in, and at first, it's fine. Not warm, not cozy. Not, we're bonding. More like polite roommates who don't particularly like each other, but share a mutual interest in keeping the baby alive, which honestly should have been enough. But no, because she starts with the comments. Oh my God, the comments, not direct. Never direct. That would require accountability. No, these were those soft, slippery, deniable comments. Must be hard being away from the baby all day. I could never imagine missing so many milestones. You're so dedicated to your career. Oh, thank you. I love when dedicated is used like an insult. That's my favorite flavor of passive aggression. And I ignored it. I ignored all of it. Because we needed her. And also because I kept thinking, maybe I am overthinking. Maybe this is just how she talks. Maybe I'm sensitive. Maybe postpartum brain is making everything feel sharper than it is. Spoiler, it was not my imagination. It gets worse. There's this one moment burned into my brain like a bad tattoo when I was 6 months pregnant. She came over, sat there, brought up childcare, and then casually suggested I quit my job. Just like that. Like she was recommending a new brand of cereal. You should stay home. Nothing is more important than motherhood. And I remember sitting there, smiling politely, while internally my brain was like, oh, cool. So we're just saying things out loud now. Bold, brave, incorrect. I told her no. Nicely, calmly. Explained finances. Explained my goals. Explained that I like working. And she, this woman, sulked. Like a child. Didn't say goodbye to me when she left. To this day, that tiny detail annoys me more than it should. Like, wow. Petty and dramatic. Pick a struggle. After that, she never said it outright again. But oh, she didn't need to. Because once she moved in, it became constant. Little digs. Little sighs. Little observations. And I kept swallowing it. Because survival mode doesn't leave room for pride. Because I needed sleep. I needed help. I needed someone there during the hours I physically could not be, so I compromised. I told myself, this is temporary. I told myself, endure. I told myself a lot of things that sound noble, until you realize they're just fancy ways of saying, I ignored red flags because I had no choice. And then, because life loves dramatic timing, CPS showed up at my door, just standing there, like it's a normal Tuesday, like my entire nervous system wasn't about to exit my body. And in that moment, I swear everything inside me just dropped, because there's fear. And then there's that kind of fear, the kind that grabs your spine and whispers, everything you love could be taken away from you right now. They said there was a report, negligence, that I didn't care for my child. And I remember thinking, This has to be a mistake. This is a mix-up. Someone typed the wrong address. This is not real life. Except it was. They came in, looked around, asked questions, and I cooperated because what else do you do? Start screaming? Hide in a closet? Fake your own death? They spoke to everyone. Neighbors, my parents, my husband, and then her. And that's when it all snapped into place. Because guess who was the only person with something negative to say? Yeah, Eliza. Of course. Because apparently just disliking me wasn't enough. No, she had to escalate it to government intervention. When confronted, she didn't even hesitate, didn't stutter, didn't backtrack, didn't pretend. She just said it calmly, like she was explaining a recipe. She said she didn't think I was fit to be a mother, that she moved in to keep an eye on me, that the moment I said I wouldn't quit my job, she knew I'd prioritize my career over my child. And I swear, something inside me just cracked. Because there's misunderstanding, there's disagreement, and then there's this calculated, deliberate attempt to destroy someone's life because they didn't make the choices you wanted. And she said it like she was the hero, like she made a tough decision. Ma'am, you called CPS on your own granddaughter's mother because I didn't fit your 1950s fantasy. That's not a tough decision. That's unhinged. We fought. Oh, we fought. And not cute movie-style arguing. I'm talking full-volume, voice-breaking, ugly, raw anger. Because how do you even process that? How do you sit across from someone who's been holding your baby, living in your house, eating your food, and realize they've been quietly building a case against you in their head? Like you're some kind of threat. And the worst part? She didn't feel bad. Not even a little. No guilt. No hesitation. No, maybe I went too far. Just certainty that she was right, that she was justified, that I was the problem. And that's when something shifted. Because up until that point, I had been tolerating her, managing her, trying to keep the peace. But that crossed a line, so far beyond normal that there was no coming back from it. You don't get to accuse me of being an unfit mother, and then continue existing in my house like everything's fine. Absolutely not. So yeah, we kicked her out immediately. No long discussions. No let's think about it. Just pack your things and go. And suddenly the house felt quiet, but not peaceful. More like the aftermath of a storm, where everything looks the same, but nothing feels the same. And I wish I could say that was the end of it, that we moved on, that things settled. But no, because that was just the beginning. Because apparently Eliza wasn't done with me yet, and neither unfortunately was I with her. I didn't spiral immediately, which honestly, growth, personal development. Somebody give me a sticker. No, really? If this had happened a year ago, I would have been pacing the house like a raccoon on espresso, crying, rage cleaning, Googling how to sue someone for existing, and stress eating dry cereal straight from the box like a gremlin. But this time, I just shut down. Not in a peaceful, healing way. Not like I'm processing my emotions. More like my brain hit the emergency off switch and went, yeah, we're not dealing with this today. Or tomorrow, or possibly ever. I moved through the next couple days like I was wearing someone else's life. CPS still hovering in the background like a bad smell that refuses to leave, my parents flying in like emotional backup, my husband trying to act normal, which, bless him, was about as convincing as a toddler saying they didn't eat the cookie with chocolate all over their face. And me? I was just existing. Feeding the baby, nodding at conversations, smiling at the appropriate times like I wasn't internally screaming 24/7, because here's the thing. Nobody tells you about being accused of something like that, it sticks. Even when you know it's not true, even when there's zero evidence, even when everyone around you is like, this is ridiculous, you're fine, there's still this tiny disgusting voice in your head going, but what if you're not doing enough? What if you missed something? What if you're not as good a mother as you thought? And I hate that voice. I hate that she put that there, because now it's not just her problem, it's living in my head rent-free like a squatter. Anyway, we were trying to stabilize. Keyword, trying. My parents were helping, which, side note, if I ever doubt unconditional love again, I'm just going to remember that they literally shut down their business and flew across states because I sounded stressed on the phone. Like, okay, I see you. Emotional support, but make it dramatic. And things were calmer. Not better, just less actively on fire. Until my husband called me from work, and I almost didn't pick up. Because I was elbow deep in laundry that I swear reproduces when I'm not looking. Like, I'll do a full load, turn around, and suddenly there's more clothes. Where are they coming from? Are we being haunted by a ghost with poor fashion choices? But something in me said, answer it. So I did. And within 5 seconds of hearing his voice, I knew. You know that tone? That tight, controlled, I'm about to ruin your day, but I'm trying to sound calm tone? Yeah, that one. And suddenly my heart just dropped. Because at this point, my baseline expectation of life had shifted to, if something can go wrong, it absolutely will. And it will do so in the most dramatic way possible. He told me he remembered something. The nursery cameras. And I had that split-second reaction of, oh yeah, those exist. Because we installed them back when we were still naive, and thought baby monitors were enough, but also maybe not enough. So let's add a backup system. Because we are paranoid first-time parents, and that's our personality now. And then we forgot about them. Because of course we did. Because life got busy and chaotic and exhausting. And who has time to remember every tiny safety feature when you're just trying to survive the day without crying in the shower? So he checked the footage, just randomly. And I remember thinking, okay, cool. What? Did the baby learn to teleport? Is there a ghost? Is this where we find out the house is built on cursed ground? No. Worse. So much worse. Because what he found was 2 months. 2 months of footage of her in the nursery with my daughter. And at first, I didn't understand why his voice sounded like that. Because I assumed, okay, she probably did something mildly annoying. Maybe she ignored a nap schedule. Maybe she used a blanket I don't like. Maybe she committed the unforgivable crime of dressing the baby in an outfit that doesn't match. You know, normal disagreements. I was so wrong. because apparently every time she was alone with my daughter, she talked, which sounds harmless. It should be harmless, except it wasn't, because she wasn't talking to soothe her. She wasn't singing. She wasn't doing the soft, gentle, loving nonsense people usually do with babies. No. She was narrating about me, and not in a cute way. Not in a mommy loves you way. No. In a filthy, bitter, absolutely unhinged way. Like my daughter was her personal diary. Like she had been holding all this venom in, and finally found a safe place to dump it, into the ears of a literal infant. And when I say filthy, I don't just mean rude. I mean cruel, personal. The kind of things you don't even say to adults, let alone whisper into the air around a child who can't even hold her own head up properly. And I remember sitting there, phone in my hand, while he sent me the clips, and I didn't want to watch them. I really didn't. Because there's this instinct, this protective instinct, not just for your kid, but for yourself. Like if I don't see it, it's not real. But curiosity is a disease. So I watched, and oh my God, it was like being punched in the face repeatedly by someone who smiles while they do it. Her voice, sweet, almost affectionate, that baby talk tone. Except the words, absolutely vile. Talking about me like I'm incompetent, like I'm selfish, like I don't care, like I'm some kind of placeholder mother. And the way she said it, so certain, so casual, it made it worse. Because this wasn't a bad day. This wasn't a slip. This was a pattern, a routine. Like every time she held my daughter, she took the opportunity to rewrite reality, to plant something, even though the baby couldn't understand. Which, let me pause here because this part makes my brain itch. Why? Like genuinely, what was the end goal? Was she practicing? Rehearsing for when my kid is old enough to understand? Warming up? Building momentum? What kind of long-term villain arc is that? Because that's not normal behavior. That's not even passive-aggressive anymore. That's active psychological warfare against someone who can't form sentences, and me, apparently. Because let's be honest, this wasn't about the baby. This was about me. Always has been. And I just sat there watching clip after clip, feeling this slow, creeping heat build in my chest. Not explosive anger. Not yet. This was worse. This was the kind of anger that feels cold, sharp, focused, the kind that doesn't scream, the kind that remembers. Because now everything made sense. The comments, the looks, the constant undermining, the CPS call. It wasn't random, it wasn't concern, it was intentional. She had already decided who I was, and everything after that was just her gathering evidence to support her own narrative, which is insane, like clinically, emotionally, spiritually insane. And I kept thinking, this woman held my child, fed her, rocked her to sleep, while quietly hating me, while actively trying to paint me as unfit. And somehow I was supposed to feel, what, grateful? Understanding? No. Absolutely not. So when my husband got home, we didn't even need to have a long discussion because sometimes there's nothing to debate. Sometimes the situation is so clear, so absurd, so aggressively unacceptable that your brain just goes, yeah, no, we're done being nice. We watched everything together, and I could see it hitting him too. That shift, that realization that this wasn't just a disagreement or a generational gap or she means well but expresses it badly. No. This was deliberate, malicious, calculated. And suddenly all that guilt we'd been carrying, gone. Just gone. Replaced with something else, something a lot less forgiving. Because here's the thing, if someone comes after you, that's one thing. But if someone comes after your ability to keep your child, that's a whole different level. That's not family conflict, that's war. And yeah, maybe that sounds dramatic, but try having CPS show up at your door and then tell me I'm overreacting. I'll wait. So we decided we were going to send the footage to the case representative, let them see. Let them understand that this wasn't concern, it was obsession. That this wasn't protection, it was sabotage. And for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt steady, not calm, not peaceful, but grounded. Like, okay, now we have something. Now we're not just defending ourselves. We're showing the truth. And yeah, there was that little voice again. Is this too much? Are we going too far? Because apparently, even after everything, I'm still wired to question myself, still wired to soften things, still wired to wonder if maybe I'm the problem. Which, honestly, annoying. I would like a refund on that personality trait. But then I thought about her, sitting there, speaking about me like that, calling CPS without a second thought, and feeling absolutely zero remorse. And I just, no, we're not the bad guys. We're just done being convenient victims. And if that makes me cold, fine. I'll be cold. Better that than being stupid. So yeah, we sent it. Every clip, every word, every disgusting little piece of proof that she was never trying to help us. She was trying to control us, break us. And honestly, for a second there, she almost did. So here's the part nobody prepares you for. The moment when you finally feel like you have something solid, something undeniable, something that should flip the entire situation in your favor. And then reality walks in like, lol, no. Because apparently truth isn't enough. Apparently proof isn't enough. Apparently you can have literal audio of someone behaving like a low-budget villain in your child's nursery, and the system will still go. Yes, but paperwork. I swear to God, if bureaucracy were a person, I would key its car. Not even my proudest thought. Not even legal, but emotionally, correct. So we send the footage, and for a couple of hours, maybe a day, I don't even remember time properly anymore. I let myself feel something dangerously close to relief. Like, okay, we did it. We stood up for ourselves. We showed them exactly what she's been doing. This nightmare is about to get wrapped up with a neat little bow. Justice, accountability, consequences. All those shiny words you grow up believing actually mean something. Yeah, that lasted about 5 minutes. Because then the response comes in, and it's polite. Of course it's polite. Everything is always polite right before it ruins your life. And basically the summary, the very clean, very sanitized version is, yeah, this is bad, but you can't use it. I'm sorry, you can't what now? And this is where I learn. against my will. Might I add that in this state, both parties have to know they're being recorded for it to be admissible, which means all that footage, all those clips, all that proof, legally, basically decorative, like a painting or a throw pillow, or my will to live, useless. And I just sat there staring at my phone, feeling this weird mix of emotions that I cannot even properly categorize, because it wasn't just anger. It wasn't just disappointment. It was this hollow kind of disbelief, like when you trip over nothing and just stand there for a second, wondering if gravity personally has beef with you, because how does that make sense? How is the thing that shows the truth not allowed to be used to prove the truth? Make it make sense. Explain it to me like I'm 5. No, actually don't. A 5-year-old would probably come up with a better system. And the worst part, they acknowledged it. They were like, yeah, this clearly shows malice. This clearly shows intent. This clearly makes you look good. But also, legally, vibes don't count. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but that's what it felt like. So now we're in this weird limbo where the people handling the case know she's full of it, but there's only so much they can actually do about it, which is comforting, I guess. Like, yay, we're not being painted as monsters anymore. But also, she's probably just going to walk away with a warning. A warning for trying to weaponize CPS against us. For actively trying to build a case against me as a mother. For whispering garbage into my baby's ear. Like she's auditioning for worst grandparent of the year. A warning. Cool, love that. Justice is thriving. And this is the part where my brain starts doing that thing again. That annoying, overthinking self-doubt spiral. Because now it's like, okay, what were we even expecting? Did we think she'd get arrested? Thrown in jail? Publicly shamed in some kind of dramatic courtroom scene where everyone gasps? And I stand there looking vindicated and slightly windblown for cinematic effect, because real life doesn't work like that. Real life is paperwork and technicalities and people saying unfortunately a lot. And suddenly I'm sitting there wondering, are we doing too much? Are we being vindictive? Are we those people now? Because there's a difference between protecting yourself and wanting someone to suffer. And I didn't like that line getting blurry. I didn't like how easy it was to slip into that mindset. Because yeah, I was angry, still am, obviously, but there was a moment, just a moment, where I caught myself thinking, she deserves to get wrecked for this. And that thought, it made me pause. Because that's not who I think I am. Or at least, not who I thought I was. But then again, what exactly is the appropriate emotional response to someone trying to destabilize your entire life? Like, is there a polite version of that? A socially acceptable level of outrage? Yes, I would like to be moderately upset about the fact that my mother-in-law tried to get my child taken away. Nothing too dramatic though. Be serious. So now I'm stuck in this internal tug of war between be the bigger person and absolutely do not let this slide. And both sides are loud. Both sides are convincing. Both sides are exhausting. Because on one hand, yeah, I don't want to turn into someone who's driven by revenge. That's a slippery slope. That's how you end up in documentaries, with ominous music playing in the background. But on the other hand, actions have consequences. They should. Otherwise, what are we even doing here? Just letting people wreak havoc and then go, well, that was unfortunate? No, I don't accept that. And my husband, he's going through the same thing. I can see it. That same conflict. That same frustration. That same quiet anger that doesn't know where to go, because this isn't just some random person. This is his mother, which adds a whole extra layer of emotional chaos. Because now it's not just about what she did, it's about who she is, or who we thought she was. And there's grief in that, which is weird to admit, but it's there. Because when someone shows you a side of themselves that ugly, that calculated, that intentional, you don't just get mad. You also lose something. Whatever version of them you were holding on to, gone. And now you're left with this new reality that you didn't ask for. And you have to figure out what to do with it. So we talk, not in a dramatic, life-altering way, more like quiet processing, sitting with it, turning it over, trying to land somewhere that feels right. And my parents, absolute MVPs by the way, basically go, do what you need to do to protect your family. Simple, direct, no overcomplication. And I needed that because I have a tendency to overanalyze everything until it loses all meaning. Like I'll sit there and dissect a single decision from 12 different angles until I'm paralyzed. And sometimes you just need someone to go, hey, this is not that complicated. Someone hurt you. Protect yourself. End of story. And when they framed it like that, something clicked. Because we're not trying to ruin her life. We're not out here plotting revenge like cartoon villains. We're responding to something she started. And there's a difference. A big one. So yeah, we accepted it. The legal limitations. The fact that she probably wouldn't face major consequences. The reality that sometimes the system doesn't deliver the kind of justice you think it should. And instead of chasing that, we shifted. Because if we couldn't control what happens to her, we could control what happens to us. And honestly, that felt way better. Not satisfying. Not in a haha take that kind of way, but steady, grounded, like, okay, we can't fix everything, but we can make sure this never happens again. And weirdly enough, that gave me more peace than the idea of punishment ever did. Because at the end of the day, I don't need her to suffer. I just need her away from my life, from my child, from my space, from my sanity. And once that became the goal instead of she needs to pay, everything felt clearer, still messy, still emotional, still very much a situation I would not wish on anyone, but clearer. Like the fog finally lifted just enough for me to see the next step. And for the first time in a while, I wasn't reacting, I was deciding. Which, let me tell you, feels a whole lot better than constantly being on defense. Because being on defense is exhausting. You're always bracing, always waiting, always anticipating the next hit. And I was tired of that. So yeah, we stopped focusing on her, stopped wondering what would happen to her, stopped giving her that much space in our heads, and started focusing on us. Our life, our kid, our future, which admittedly still looked like a chaotic mess at this point, but at least it was our mess, and not something she was actively trying to sabotage anymore. And that was enough. For now, you ever notice how life doesn't actually resolve things? It just stops escalating. Like a fire that burns out not because someone put it out, but because it ran out of stuff to destroy. Yeah, that's where we landed. Not some dramatic, cinematic ending where everything clicks into place and I stand there, healed and glowing and emotionally evolved. No, more like I blinked one day and realized I hadn't thought about her in a few hours, which, considering she had been living in my brain like an unpaid tenant, felt suspicious, almost illegal. Like, hello? Where did the constant anxiety go? Who approved this silence? And then it hit me. Oh, right. She's gone. Not metaphorically. Not we're working through it. No, like actually gone. Out of the house. Out of our daily life. Out of my immediate range of problems. And wow. Turns out when you remove the source of chaos, things get quieter. Not perfect. Let's not get delusional, but quieter. Which honestly is all I was asking for at that point. Not happiness, not peace, just less noise. And for a while, that's exactly what we had. My parents were still around, holding everything together like the emotional duct tape they are. My husband went back to work. I stayed home a couple extra days because, shocker, I was not in the mood to pretend everything was fine while crafting marketing emails about exciting new opportunities. Like, yeah, the only opportunity I'm interested in right now is the opportunity to not scream. But eventually, life started nudging us forward. Bills still existed. Jobs still existed. The baby still needed to be fed every 3 hours like a tiny, adorable alarm clock that doesn't believe in weekends. So we adjusted, slowly, messily, with a lot of side-eye and caffeine. And then came the part I didn't expect, the shift. Because up until now, everything had been reactive. She did something, we responded. She escalated, we scrambled. She existed, I spiraled. But now there was space. And with space comes decisions, which sounds empowering until you realize it means you actually have to make them. And suddenly we're sitting there, mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted, trying to figure out what our life is supposed to look like without a built-in and slightly unhinged childcare situation. Because yeah, plot twist, we still had a baby. Shocking, I know. And my parents weren't staying forever. As much as I would have loved to emotionally trap them here with guilt and baked goods, they had lives. Responsibilities. A whole business sitting there like, hello? Are we just closed now? So that wasn't sustainable. And childcare, still expensive. Still annoying, still. A logistical nightmare that makes you question every life choice you've ever made, which left us with the big, looming, slightly terrifying question, who's staying home? And I already knew what the expected answer was. I mean, come on, let's not pretend society isn't predictable. Mom stays home, dad works. Everyone nods like, yes, this makes sense. We love tradition. We love gender roles, we love not questioning anything ever. And for a second, a very brief, very annoying second, I actually considered it, quitting. Staying home, putting my career on pause like it's a Netflix show I might come back to someday. Because it felt easier, not emotionally, not mentally, but logistically. Like, okay, this solves the problem, done, move on. Except every time I thought about it, something in me just went, no, not dramatically, not rebelliously, just quietly, firmly, no. And I hated that, because it would have been so convenient if I didn't care, if I didn't have goals, if I didn't like what I do, if I didn't feel that weird, stubborn attachment to my independence. Life would be so much simpler. But no, I had to be that person, the one who wants both, the one who refuses to pick a lane, the one who complicates things for herself. Love that for me. So I'm sitting there, mentally fighting myself, preparing to make this sacrifice I don't actually want to make. And then my husband just casually drops his own decision, and I swear my brain had to buffer for a second, because I did not see that coming. Not because he's not supportive. He is. Always has been. But this was different. This was big. This was the kind of decision people talk about in theory, but don't actually make in real life. And suddenly I'm staring at this man, this very real, very human man, and thinking, oh, you're serious. And my first reaction? Suspicion. Because obviously, like, excuse me, are you okay? Did you hit your head? Is this a test? Am I being pranked? Because who just offers that? Who just goes, yeah, I'll step back. I'll rearrange my entire career. I'll take the hits socially, professionally, whatever, so you don't have to give up yours? Apparently him, which is inconvenient. Because now I can't even lean into martyr mode. I can't go, fine, I'll sacrifice everything for this family dramatically, like I'm starring in my own emotionally exhausting biopic. No. Now I have to actually consider a healthy, balanced, supportive option. Disgusting. So I sit with it for like a day, which is impressive, honestly. Personal growth again. And the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Not because it's the right thing, not because it's progressive or whatever label people want to slap on it, but because it works for us, which apparently is allowed. Who knew? So we decide. He starts looking for remote work. I go back to my job, and suddenly our entire dynamic shifts. Not in a dramatic, earth-shattering way, more like subtle recalibration. Like moving furniture around until the room finally feels right. And yeah, it's weird at first. Of course it is. I come home from work and he's there. With the baby, with the house, with everything. And my brain short circuits for a second like, wait, what timeline are we in? But then it settles. Because it's not about what it looks like. It's about how it feels. And it feels right, which is annoying because I was fully prepared for this to be chaotic. I was ready for struggle, for tension, for at least one minor breakdown per week. But no, he handles it. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but consistently. And more importantly, without making it my problem, which let me tell you is rare. Because a lot of people will say they support you, but then they'll make you carry the emotional weight of their support. Like, congratulations, now you get to feel guilty about something you didn't even ask for. Love that. But he doesn't do that. He just shows up. And yeah, sometimes I catch it, the exhaustion. The adjustment, the moments where he's clearly figuring it out on the fly, but he doesn't turn it into a performance. He doesn't make it a thing. And that matters, more than I expected. Meanwhile, life keeps moving. My parents go back home, which, yeah, emotional. I cried, obviously. I'm not a robot, but also I didn't panic, which is new, because for the first time in this entire mess, I felt like we actually had control over something, not everything. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but enough. And then, because of course there's always a then, we hear about her, not directly, because she's not contacting us, which honestly, growth for her. Love that journey, but through relatives, because apparently silence doesn't stop gossip. She's selling her house, planning to move, and my immediate reaction, a very calm, very rational, absolutely not, because I don't care if she's moving closer or farther or into another dimension. You don't get access anymore. That door, closed, locked, deadbolted, bricked over for aesthetic purposes, so we handle it. Lawyer, paperwork, all the fun, soul-sucking steps that come with making something official. And yeah, it's exhausting. Of course it is. Everything in this story is exhausting. That's kind of the theme. But we push through, because this time we're not reacting. We're preventing, and that feels different, better, cleaner, like we're finally ahead of something instead of constantly catching up. And when it's done, when it's signed, approved, finalized, I don't feel triumphant. I don't feel vindicated. I just feel done, which is honestly better, because I'm tired of carrying this, tired of thinking about her, tired of replaying everything, tired of giving her that much space in my life. So I don't. Simple as that. And now it's just us, me, my husband, our daughter,